Okay, so Nick Fuentes is a self-proclaimed neo-Nazi white supremacist, a right-wing Trump supporter. His main claim to fame is attending the 2017 white supremacist rally in Charlottesville. And that was the rally that Trump, he spoke on, and he infamously said, well, there was good and bad people on both sides, referring to the white supremacists and the people that were protesting against the white supremacists. Now, clearly, one of the good ones that Donald Trump was referring to was Nick Fuentes, because later on in 2022, Donald Trump, he would have a private dinner with Nick Fuentes. So now that I have given you a little bit of Nick's credentials, I want to move on to what I really want to talk about. Nick said something that me personally, I have never heard a Nazi say before. He called Candace Owens and all the other raccoons a bunch of, quote, Uncle Toms that he is completely done with. He called them all token blacks.
You are a diversity hire. You are a DEI hire. You pander. You know, and she thinks she's some kind of boss bitch. Yeah, you're a bitch, but like you didn't get that way because you're a super smart boss. You got that way because you're super bitchy black token. Like, it is what it is. So I don't know that anyone's ever told her that. But that's the obvious and I'm kind of done with all the Uncle Toms. In a way, I'm done with all the Uncle Toms. I'm done with Jason Whitlock. I'm done with Candace Owens. I'm done with all the Uncle Tom token blacks. Like, you're not that smart.
Hold on. It's fact check time. Now, this Nazi, he's telling the truth when he's calling all these raccoons Uncle Toms and token black people. But here's where he lied. And this is what Nazis, they always do when they push their propaganda and disinformation. They always like to describe black people as not being smart, unintelligent. In other words, just being inferior to the white race, right? So this guy, he continues to use these type of semi-smart, unintelligent type of words throughout this video. They all use these exact same talking points in their little echo chamber. Joe Rogan, he said the same thing. Not only did he call black people apes from the planet of the apes, but he also said that black people don't have the same brain that a white man has. So with that being said, let me give you guys a quick trivia question. What group of people are the most educated in the United States of America? You give up? It's black women. Black women are the most educated group in the U.S., according to the National Center of Education Statistics. The number of black women earning bachelor's degrees has increased by 63% over the past 2 decades. And just remember, black people only make up, 14% of the population. Something I'm sure the Nazis would love to hear. Anyway, let's get back to this clip.
You're not even that conservative. You built your career on a grift that is now dead. You were hired when diversity quotas were a thing. You were hired when white guilt is a thing. I don't feel white guilt. I never have. DEI is over. So now you're done. You need to be fired. Like, you're done.
Now, the first thing I want to say is this Nazi, he just confirmed what I have been telling you guys for years. No matter how much ass you try to kiss, no matter how much some of these black people try to cater to these races, he's telling the raccoons, just because I agree with you when you're dissing your own race, doesn't mean you're exempt. It doesn't mean you're excluded. Because this has never been about any type of politics, ideologies, or philosophies. This has always been about race. And that's what this Nazi is telling the Uncle Toms. That's what he's telling the raccoons. He's telling them you could sell out as much as you want. You could throw your race under the bus as much as you want. But we are always going to see you guys as all being the same, no matter what your views are. Because of your race. This is the reason why when we see these races shooting and killing unarmed black people, if you guys have noticed, they don't care what the victim's political affiliations are. I can guarantee you guys, when it comes to the thousands of unarmed black people that have lost their lives to some white police officer, I would say at least half, if not more than half of those victims, they either shared some of Candace Owens' views or they just didn't care what was going on around them because they thought it had nothing to do with them until it did. And the same thing can be said about Mexicans and other Latinos. When that white Nazi, when he traveled 400 miles, he drove 400 miles to El Paso, Texas, just to eliminate as many Mexicans as he could, he didn't care what their views were. And even though the killer was a Trump supporter, he didn't care if they were. And we know a lot of them were. The only thing that mattered to him was race, the fact that they were not Anglo-Saxon. Now let's get back to this clip of what the Nazi is saying about the raccoons.
How about a shred of humility? How about an ounce of self-awareness? Why don't you observe the fact that while you had a contract at Daily Wire, Turning Point USA, InfoWars, book deals, and by the way, because you're a black woman, because you are a semi-articulate black woman, you're like Obama. She don't talk with that Negro dialect. She was a black woman who did the conservative grift, and she rode that tokenism doing Blexit for 10 years, making millions of dollars, and then married into a wealthy family.
Man, this is so funny to me, man. And I just wish there were more white supremacists like Nick Fuentes that would come out and berate these raccoons. Because we know that these coons, they don't listen to nothing that black people say, or at least they oppose everything that black people say. But when it comes to white people, they parrot all of their talking points, at least white supremacists. So if we can get more Nazis to come out exposing these coons, maybe they'll have no choice but to listen. I mean, this is so crazy. They need to really make a movie about this. I mean, you just think about the fact that you have someone like Candace Owens and other coons, right, that have dedicated their entire life to catering to white supremacists, just to find out all that time you've been doing it, the white supremacists don't even want you in their party. They don't even want you there. In fact, if it was up to Nazis, coons and other people of color in general wouldn't even be permitted to live in the country. Which brings me to the next segment of my video. So there's a man by the name of Eric Orwell, and he's trying to build a whites-only town in Arkansas. And of course, he has the same goals that all Nazis have, which is to preserve the white race by preventing race mixing. So he wants to build this town, and he's calling the town Return to the Land. But here's the irony. If they're going to call the town Return to the Land, wouldn't you think that would mean that they're going to return to Europe and build this town? Because it makes no sense to use the word return. Return from where? Because there are a lot of black Americans right now that have been in America for over 400 years that are returning back to the motherland, back to Africa, moving to Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, South Africa, which are highly developed, beautiful countries. And that's what you truly call returning to the land. So if you're just relocating from one city to the next, or from one state to the next, you ain't returning back to the land. Shit, if anything, all you doing is returning back from Home Depot or some other store. So moving on. Okay, for those of you who have never heard of these guys right here, these are the Hodge twins. Now, back in the day, they used to be very popular. They used to do videos about bodybuilding, but then they slowly started to descend and transform their channel into an anti-black channel in traditional coon fashion, ignoring the fact that they are black themselves.
Somebody needs to study the fall off of the Hodge twins, because I was really thinking about this the other day. I was like, is this a case of like chasing the bag and also inadvertently fumbling a future bag? Judd Apatow would have loved the Hodge twins, right? And I think to myself, that potential was screwed up because they thought to themselves, the conservative money will always be consistent and will always be coming. It's always gonna be there.
You know, people are always quick to assume that whenever a black person is catering to white supremacists, they're doing it for the bag. They're doing it for a payday. But the truth is, there are black people that have been doing this for free since the inception, from slavery to Jim Crow to present day. When Rosa Parks was on a bus and she was asked to give up her seat for a white man and she refused to do it, and Martin Luther King started a boycott, there were a lot of black people that was completely against the boycott. They didn't even like Martin Luther King. They hated Martin Luther King. There were also a lot of black people that hated Muhammad Ali around the same time. And they didn't do it for money. They did it for free. Now, and I'm not trying to say there are no coons out there benefiting financially, because there are. My only point is there's probably a lot more that will use all those talking points, say the exact same things for free. I mean, you got some broke ass raccoons sitting on the bus right now pushing this entire same narrative that you hear from all the other coons. When it comes to Kanye West, he actually lost money for being a coon. He lost a massive deal with Adidas because of the racist rants that he continued to put out, particularly the anti-Semitic remarks that he made. So going back to the Hodge twins, they actually watched the video of this white supremacist that wants to create all white towns or white only towns. And this is what they said in response.
To be honest, I don't want to live in the United States of America if it's not majority white. Once it becomes majority non-white, it's going to be a much different country. It's going to be a much different country. Well, that's just a fact. If you just look at voting statistics, how ethnicities other than white vote, this country would be totally different. So I understand the fear of white people wanting to live in a country that's majority non-white. I understand that fear wholeheartedly because I don't want to live in a country that's majority non-white because it would systematically change our country.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, when it comes to white supremacists, if it were up to them, they would have the entire country be completely whitewashed, meaning they don't want any people of color in this country if it were up to them. Remember, they invaded America and they tried to eliminate all of the Indians. So when Eric Allwall talks about building whites-only towns in America, that means the Hodge twins, they will not be invited. And we know that to be a fact because Eric Allwall, he actually made that clear. He actually responded to something that the Hodge twins said to him directly. The Hodge twins actually sent him a message begging if they can be included into his whites only land because they're part white, right? They're 40% white. That's what they said.
This is where the Hodge twins get their Negro wake-up call. So the Hodge twins go on to Twitter and then they put this message. Hey Arval, I know your community is whites only, but could you make exceptions for us two Negroes? We're not even full sub-Saharan. We are over 40% white. And Arval says this, God bless the Hodge twins. But no.
So the Hodge twins, they say, I wouldn't want to live here either if the country wasn't majority white. But once again, the white supremacists, they're not talking about they want a land that's majority white. They want a land that's all white. So when these coons say, I wouldn't want to live here either if, once again, the land was majority non-white, they're making it sound like if the white people ever leave, we following them. We going with them wherever they go. But no, you're not, because they ain't gonna let your ass on a boat. So they got a serious wake-up call. But, this is how all coons think. All coons think that when these white supremacists are talking about black people, the coons always try to convince themselves that they are excluded from the rest of the black people that they're talking about. And they just found out that they're not. So things are really going bad for the raccoons when even the white supremacists are exposing them. With that being said, I'm gonna wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.
All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Dekey Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to LODekey.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.